Okay, this is the first ever podcast of Noise at Twilight. I'm here with my friend Chris here. My name is Blaise.
Hello.
We're going to talk about, is democracy obsolete?
Yeah, so when you mentioned this topic to me the other day, what exactly did you mean obsolete?
I kind of
we
think
used
of
to
it,
have it and now it's out of fashion, or?
I think it's like a very succinct way of saying that democracy is defunct, and I think we haven't invented a better form of anything. So we've
Better
just
form
kind
of any form, I'm assuming
of government.
Form of government,
A form of government. So we're just kind of left with this outdated model where there's so much propaganda, people don't pay attention to anything, and so they're voting on this very, very ancient, it's antique. It's an antique model of government that really was never actually functioning that well in the first place.
Right, and I mean, just to be clear, we're not talking about like ancient or antiquated in the sense of like some of its peculiarities, like, you know, the Electoral College or whatever. We mean the system writ large has just stopped. We can no longer pretend that it's capable of fulfilling the functions that were ascribed to it when we came up with it, you know?
I'm thinking Windows 95.
Right, so pretty bad, right? Like
pretty bad,
completely
really
useless.
slow.
Right.
The icons are too big. You say the icons are the candidates, right? They're just too big, they look like cartoons, and you click them, they take forever to load, and then it's never what you want anyway. They have nothing. They have nothing. None of the candidates have any kind of substance whatsoever.
And the worst part is that going into it, we don't just know that, we kind of expect it, you know? Like, it seems like the more detail we get from a candidate, the more suspicious we become of them, you know? Because candidates know that everything that they say is a liability because we live in a soundbite kind of democracy culture now, where it's not so much what a candidate's substance is, what their platform is. It's getting good lines, good punches at debates, and they hope that the party insiders will like them and everybody else will not hate them.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at someone who's mastered it, like Newt Gingrich, and you're like, okay, so he literally was charged with ethics violations as the House Speaker. He is a nobody. He's a C actor in the Republican base. Nobody likes him. Yet somehow he's convinced people, which, by the way, are like the lowest turnout Republicans have. There's a 1% turnout or less in a lot of these primaries.
Right, one of the worst of all time, I believe, for the GOP.
Yeah, and it's because they know, because everybody knows at this point where we're just like, okay, so you're not defending our interests at all. At the same time, we have people, literally, there's an insider trading scandal in the government.
Right.
Like, in people who are supposed to represent our interests. There's a problem where they are actually...
They're using the government knowledge to exploit the economy.
Right. And that's a case. That's actually a bill that's caused controversy.
Right.
It can't get passed.
It recently passed the House with only 2 no votes, actually.
Yeah.
But now it's stalling in the Senate for reasons that are essentially opaque. They have to do with the technical procedures of the Senate that have nothing to do with how a government should run. A bill that would ban insider trading by senators.
Yeah,
is stalling in the Senate.
It's pretty amazing.
Democracy is broken.
Yeah, I think it was broken. I don't know though, because when it started, it was for white males who owned land.
Yes.
And I'm kind of wondering what the difference is at this point. Like, where
you have
people
a black male who owns land in charge now.
Kind of.
Who
I don't know how
beat a white female who owns land.
I don't know how in charge he is, to be honest. Like, I
and that's a separate question: is how much power does the president actually have?
But how great is that PR campaign where we feel so bad for him? We're like, well, Obama, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, it's not his fault that all this shit is happening.
He just doesn't know how to control money.
He doesn't know how to manipulate anybody, the poor bastard. Like,
right.
Even though he does, he totally does. And I think he's actually pretty complicit with, like, everything that's happening. Like, especially if you look at foreign policy.
Yeah.
But,
more or less continued the Bush foreign policy uninterrupted.
Yeah, well, that's...
With a couple of notable escalations and a couple of notable drawdowns.
Yeah, the Patriot Act thing kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, seriously.
Like,
why is that thing still around? Like how is it... See, that's one thing that I think is remarkable, is that it seems like... So we have in our democracy these fantasies of getting rid of things like government debt and too much government control. But the most expensive, government-expanding, unpopular programs in our history are still going on in very good force. The Patriot Act, No Child Left Behind, the Bush tax cuts, and the occupation of Afghanistan and Iraq, which are being drawn down. But you think that in a democracy, things that suck and that are unpopular should be the first things to go. but those things have been long-time failures that have been very expensive that no one has been in favor of, but they've lasted for years, for a decade in some of those cases.
And we know they're failures. We know they're not doing anything. That's the crazy thing. We're over there.
The evidence is unambiguous on that point.
We were lied into this war, yet we're still there, and we know we're not doing anyone any favors by doing it. There's not even an argument about that anymore in the media.
Right.
That's not being mentioned at all. Instead, you have Newt Gingrich defending the fact that he'll have 2 chronically ill wives for a third, for an open marriage.
Well, actually, he's not defending it. He's attacking the media for asking him about it.
Yeah, which is great because
it's our fault for bringing
somehow
it up.
the media, the Republicans have convinced people that the media is the enemy for asking any kind of question as tepid as those questions are. Even though the media is they're trying their best to fall in line with their corporate sponsors. They really are. You got to admire that. They're like, oh, but we won't ask anything about any of the issues. The fact that all of you guys are millionaires, yet suddenly Romney's wealth has become an issue. Right. That's incredible that they've made that an issue. It's incredible.
Only Romney's wealth is an issue.
Only Romney, because he's a multi-millionaire. Unfortunately for him.
Right.
I mean,
he earned what, $60 million last year, and Obama only earned what, $15 million last year?
I don't know.
$12 million
last year. Well, there was the whole controversy where he got the tax rate. It was like that was the highlight. That is such a valuable piece.
Yeah, he paid about by percent he paid about half what I paid last year.
Yeah, but see, Chris, he's investing in companies so he can take them over and then shut them down.
Right, he's a job creator. By destroying thousands of jobs.
Just literally going in. Yeah, because that's a takeover. That's the business he was in.
Right.
Is taking companies over.
And nobody seems bothered that is exactly his business model for the American government.
Literally
take it over and massively reduce the size of the government, which means firing lots of government employees. The government, by the way, the largest employer in America.
Which is ironic, because Republicans are saying, well, you got to cut government, you got to do this. And then they yell at Obama about employment because the public jobs are still steadily hemorrhaging.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, well, the private sector is adding jobs. Yeah, because you're cutting regulations. They're not adding real jobs.
Right.
That's the one problem with the economy, too. And, I mean, as we lose money and influence, you just have people who still have all that money. They just stay there, and they buy the elections. I mean, and that's it. They just literally sponsor candidates now.
Yeah, I mean, this point about buying elections, it used to be something of, like, leftist, leftists getting heated about, but now it's like it's cartoonishly in our face how easy it is to buy elections. Like this whole super PAC thing, it's like that's what satire was like in the 70s and 80s. That's how we used to think of like that's what a cartoonish exaggeration of our government access would be like, and it's exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Anybody can give, not even anybody, any business can give as much money as they want to a candidate whenever they want, with very low reporting requirements.
How long do you think it'll be before every candidate just wears a jersey? They'll be like, okay, so these are the corporations that are like Coca-Cola.
Like NASCAR or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And people, okay, so you just link up with the corporate values then. You're like, okay, so that corporation, they serve
This is the
interests.
intervention in Syria brought to you by Pepsi-Cola.
Well, they already did that. McDonald's did that with Darfur, where they did cause marketing, which is, they did that a while ago. And so we've actually gotten to the point where our interest in humane issues, even if you saw the Super Bowl, Bud Light had a puppy delivering beer, and then they said, find out more about how to rescue, puppies or whatever. Right. And then it went to the Facebook Bud Light site. That was the link. So you're like, oh, great, it's fantastic. Puppies with beer? No, beer and animal treatment, I'm pretty sure, has a great relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, but and soon in the future it'll just be even more streamlined. It'll be. I think that at some point we'll stop apportioning the electoral college among states. Just have it be among corporations.
Yeah.
Like Apple will get California's share, Microsoft will get Texas's share, and they can just pick the presidents.
But see, we might as well just call it, if we were the corporate states of America, I mean, it's, okay, we might as well just fess up. Democracy, all right, we tried it, or we tried to try it at least.
Right.
It didn't work. But was democracy ever not obsolete? Has it always been a facade?
See, that's not just a banal historical point, because, like we mentioned earlier, when democracy was first conjured up in the States, it was for white male landowners who had very few choices to begin with. We've always had relatively few political parties in America. Now, we've never really had more than 3 serious contenders for president in any given election at any time, maybe 4 at the most. But But now we expand people who have access to the ballot over time. Whether that makes democracy any better or not, I mean, it's the same principles. You still have a single person in charge of a cartoonishly oversized party with just so much influence and so many resources and so many people behind them. But my objection to the whole thing always has been that the goal of democracy seems to be putting power into the hands of the average American. And have you met the average American? Like, that guy sucks. They know shit about what's going on in the world. They couldn't give two shits about the bad things that are happening in the world. They don't care for facts. They're superstitious, generally a racist bunch. So even if we could have democracy not be obsolete, would we really want to be apportioning power among the population that gave us this system today?
Yeah, I think the big difference nowadays is that there are just so many better things to do than pay attention to politics.
Seriously.
It's like, why
You're
would you
on a
do
podcast.
that?
You're listening to a podcast right now.
Yeah. It's like, why would you pay attention to politics when you can, say, watch Jersey Shore,
right,
play StarCraft,
yeah,
listen to your iTunes on these songs that are literally just about getting drunk now. Right. I listened to Kiss 108. This girl one time advertising it said, I listen to it for variety, and it's only about broken hearts and alcohol, which I guess sync up pretty well. Right. And you say Newt Gingrich is probably maybe the Lindsay Lohan of the group, I mean, she actually was, you're right, she was involved in music. I mean, remember she had that one song?
Yeah.
She had, it was a catchy tune, you gotta listen to it. I think it was called Rumors, and she was yelling about the media, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So I think if we just had
the very media that made her a wealthy young woman, I believe.
Wealthy and happy, because, and she created a lot of jobs. She's got millions of dollars.
Lindsay Lohan is a job creator.
She made so many jobs for photographers trying to take pictures of her. Right. Well, they're the product. It's the product. And it's the same with candidates now. Right. They're the product of their corporate sponsors, and they have to cater to those values. And that's exactly what we see in these primaries, and that's what we see in democracy nowadays.
It's going to be even better this fall because this is the first election where super PACs have really been in full swing.
It's amazing.
We've already seen a 1,300% jump in campaign spending.
Obama's supposed to raise $1 billion or whatever.
We're going to see the first $1 billion election this year.
Oh, it's gonna be it's gonna be so diverse. Yeah. There's gonna be so many issues that come up.
Yeah.
It's amazing though, because if Romney does get into the general election,
right,
I don't even know what he's gonna say. He's gonna be like, okay, so healthcare law. Oh wait, I can't mention that because Massachusetts had it.
Right, it was his idea.
Yeah. That healthcare law which required institutions who have people of different religions to cover birth control, right? Oh, wait, I did that too. All right, so what else do we got, Romney?
Barack's a socialist. America should be better. I can make America better.
Because I'm a businessman. I have business experience putting people out of work or outsourcing.
I've been very successful at destroying businesses. So because I've been successful, I should be president.
It's so poetic. Isn't it so poetic that we have, as the front runner of this race, someone who was actually the definition of the financial crisis.
Yes.
Like he's one of those people, yet he's the front runner.